Hey, everybody. It is Glenn, and I'm here with Marie. And
Hello.
It is Marie?
That's me.
That's her. We're at the Northeast Georgia History Center with a fun game of trivia. It's very informal. It's very fun. And we are sorry we're getting a little bit of a late start. Did you know that technical things have technical issues that you can't help? But that's okay, because we're about to share with you a history in a nutshell. I don't know if you knew, but these mugs are now available on our website and at our shop. So if you want any of the patent Northeast Georgia History Center mugs, please feel free to order some. We're going to go ahead and get started. Lib, if we're ready to get started.
But what will they win?
What will they win? You will win the Taj Mahal. No, you will win a digital membership to the Northeast Georgia History Center, which is probably even better. It's even better. All right, so we are ready to get started with trivia about the Civil War, Roundheads and Cavaliers and decapitating the king. And
I think that might be the wrong Civil War.
Really?
Yeah. I think we're doing the American one.
All my prep was for the other one.
Can you wing it?
We'll just wing it.
Okay,
cool.
cool.
We'll go with what we've got. We'll go with what we've got.
So we are going to make sure everybody's ready.
Yeah, make sure everyone's ready.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to get started now. Here we go.
All right. You want to read the first one?
Sure.
Okay.
So Civil War trivia in 3, 2, 1. So our first question is, which was the first state to secede from the Union? We have Triangle, good old Georgia where we are. South Carolina is the diamond. We have a circle, which is Virginia, and a square, which is Mississippi. So which of these states was the first to secede from the Union during the American Civil War?
Not the English.
Not the English one.
The English one, the answer would be Sussex.
I'm dressed for the wrong one then.
Well, no, I think I'm not dressed for any of them, so I think you're okay.
All right.
Leslie would love to know about your costume, maybe while everybody's answering.
Yes. So I am wearing what would be a fashionable lady of the time would wear. I have my fun pagoda sleeves here and my undersleeves, which would be so if I get my cuffs dirty, I don't have to wash my entire dress. I have my collar, and I think, which one am I wearing? I have a rose cameo on my neck. It would be very popular. You have your collars, and then you would have either like a gemstone or like a brooch or like a tie, like a ribbon or a bow, which would be at your neck. I have hook and eye closures down to my Medici belt, which is also very fashionable. I did not put on the hoop because it does not fit under this table. But if I were in the 1860s, I would be either wearing several petticoats, but most probably if I was being a fashionable lady, I would have on a cage crinoline and or what we would call a hoop skirt.
All right, very good. I'm going to make you disappear again.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so I think we have about 36 people playing. Let's
Okay.
just make sure everybody
Yeah,
has time.
this first one will make sure that everyone has plenty of time, and we know how many people we have, and we'll start ending it when we know everyone's answered. Libba,
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
So it looks like 36 is our number of players. So
Okay.
keep that in mind.
That's a good number.
So the answer is
South Carolina.
All the interesting things come out of South Carolina.
If you have to blame someone for most of early American history, South Carolina is a good guess.
Yeah, so South Carolina was the first state to secede. They had their ordinance to secede, and on December 20th, they became the first. But the other 7 other southern states very quickly seceded, and the entire reason that they gave was directly the election of Abraham Lincoln, whose Republican Party platform claimed that it wanted to eliminate and abolish slavery from the United States. So South Carolina did not like that, and therefore seceded.
You also have South Carolina to thank for the addendum that said slavery was to be done away with during the American Revolution. When, we signed the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, South Carolina would not get on board unless slavery was left intact. So
They're an interesting state.
it's fitting that they were the first to secede.
They have great history.
Lots of history.
All right, let's see. What's next? Our leaderboards?
all right.
No, I think it's
The next
question.
oh, yes.
Yeah, we
Which of the following killed the most people during the Civil War? Was it triangle bullets, hand-to-hand combat for the blue? Yellow is disease, are cold temperatures. So
There were a lot of all of those, I think.
yes.
But which one
people-
killed the most?
Yes, the most. Everyone died, but not everyone. Everyone who
Lot of
died
people
died
did.
from a lot of of all these, but one of these caused the most deaths during the American Civil War. And to clarify, when we say hand-to-hand combat, we mean like bayonets and swords and face-to-face entrenching tools and things like that.
All right. So be thinking about what answer you want to give.
Only a couple more people left as I sip my delicious tea from my wonderful History Center mug.
Subtle product placement.
All right, maybe one more person's thinking about it.
All right.
that's
If you
it.
you have a 25% chance. Oh, okay.
I've got
Every way.
it.
We got it.
Okay, here we go.
And the answer is
Disease.
Almost everyone got that, which is great.
Ooh.
Lead is
History
Yeah.
boy Josh is in the lead, followed closely by
Louisa
Louisa
and
and
Kay.
Kay.
So yeah, diseases such as dysentery, typhoid, pneumonia, malaria, smallpox, tuberculosis, and measles actually killed more people during the American Civil War than actual battlefield wounds. And this is something that has continued to amaze a lot of people. But you have to remember, this is a pre-germ theory. Infection does a lot of things, and all these people coming together. And I know that I think we talk later about the figures, but the figures for how many people died, recent studies by historians have actually started to push that number up, but the proportions for disease remains the same, if not higher. All right, let's go to our next question.
Okay, here we go.
So our next question is, what battle resulted in the single deadliest day in American history? We have triangle, the Battle of Bull Run; diamond, the Battle of Antietam; circle, Battle of Gettysburg; square, Battle of Shiloh.
All real battles.
All real battles, all rather bloody, but which one was the single deadliest day in American history, or had that as part of it?
And for the record, these battles are also not listed in chronological order or anything.
No.
They're just battles.
A random assortment of battles.
Picked from a forage cap, if you were.
Yes. That's how we do all things here.
That's how we do it. Oh, we have 38 answers. It seems like we've
Oh,
got two
we
more people, but I bet
joined.
that's it. Oh, 39. Where are these people coming from? We're so glad to have them.
Give them a little more time.
Oh, 40.
I think some people were logging in a little late.
That's okay. Ooh, it's
All right, so it
exciting.
seems like we're stopped at 40.
All right, so we'll go ahead and see what the answer was.
All right, the Battle of Antietam. That one was a little trickier. History boy Josh still in the lead, but now followed by Coach Lots of Numbers.
I'm just going to give them a little bit of time to catch up with the stream because there is a 30-second delay.
Sure, yeah. Well, and so, you've got some facts coming up about that battle, but one I will throw out that I don't think is there. The Battle of Shiloh was actually the first of those four battles, and it took place in 1862, and more people died at the Battle of Shiloh than had died in all previous battles on the North American continent combined. And it's not the biggest one for the American Civil War, so that battle is really what made Americans realize this was going to be a horrible, bloody thing and was going to continue on.
So we have Antietam, which is our answer. So the Battle of Gettysburg led to almost 50,000 casualties, but it lasted for 3 days. And we asked what the single bloodiest day was, and the single bloodiest day is the Battle of Antietam, which resulted in 25,000 casualties.
In one day.
In one day. And the battle only lasted for that one day. So while Gettysburg had more casualties, it was spread out over more time.
Okay, let's see. Okay, got it. All right, let's go to our
All right, next question. Who is the most famous photographer of the Civil War? Triangle, Matthew Brady. Diamond, Timothy O'Sullivan. Circle, George Bernard. Or square, Orlando Willicox. So this isn't giving it away, but I'm going to go ahead and say that probably my favorite photographs are actually by George Bernard. Personally, because many of you who have continued to watch us recently know that I'm a big Western theater fan, right? I love the Western theater, and Bernard followed much of the Western campaigns, and especially Sherman's Atlanta campaign. And he took some of the most remarkable photographs of the Atlanta campaign and where the battles had taken place and some of the fortifications, and you just can't beat the quality of George Barnard's photos. But the quality and the amazing coverage that he had was he's the most popular. We're going to have to see what you say.
And then what the answer is.
Yes, and what the answer is. I love that there are no right-in answers on this. They have to go along with what we propose as the
With the perhaps.
The answers.
Yes.
That's the power of the internet, folks. All right, we're at 40 answers. I think that's put us where we need to be.
All right. Okay.
All right.
It was Matthew Brady, of course, and you know he was not just the only one going to photograph. He eventually, as the war went on, had this big, group of people that worked for him, and he would pay to have them go around to the battles. And the ones you see of Gettysburg are, of course, the ones by Matthew Brady.
Mm-hmm.
A photograph. He was already a famous photographer when the war began, but he followed the northern columns to the First Manassas, or the first big battle of the war, and continued to follow them around, especially those Eastern Theater folks, which is one reason that the Eastern Theater battles have such a good coverage, is because they have great photographs from Matthew Brady. But if you're esoteric like me, please feel free to go and check out online some of those George Bernard photographs, and you'll find that while Matthew Brady was the most popular in 1860, here in Gainesville in 2020, he may not be the most popular amongst us. All right, next question.
All right, so next question. The first battle between ironclad ships took place in 1862. What was the name of the Confederate Navy ship? So we have Triangle, the CSS Lee. Diamond, the CSS Virginia. Circle, the CSS Jackson. Or Square, the CSS Georgia.
Oh, this is a good one. And for the record, these are all real Confederate Navy ships. And I'll go out on a limb and say that the Confederate, just the Confederate Navy, but the entire naval war tends to get short shrift because we all think of the land battles.
Like Gettysburg and such.
And Antietam and Shiloh. But the naval aspect of the Civil War was just as important, with the blockades and control of the rivers and things like that. And the best commanders of the land commanders of the American Civil War realized that control of those waterways was absolutely essential. All right, we have our 40 answers, so we're going to go ahead and go and see which one is correct. And the answer is dun dun dun.
The CSS Virginia.
Let's see. History boy Josh stays at the top, but man, Coach 434344 is right behind him, and Nitrate and Christine are not too far behind. So, and then it says 9 players just hit answer streak 5, so I guess those players have gotten all of them correct.
The CSS Virginia, sometimes called the CSS Merrimack, was converted from a steam-powered wooden ship to an ironclad to break the blockade.
Do you know why they keep confusing that name? Do you know this story?
I do not know this story.
So I will be very brief. But so there was a traditional wooden ship that was steam-powered that was brought into Hampton Roads, Virginia, named the Merrimack. And the Confederacy wanted to make an ironclad, so they couldn't make one from the keel up from scratch. They were going to take a ship that already existed and modify it. So the ship they took was the Merrimack. And so when they stripped it down to the water line and began to build up a superstructure and put the iron on the outside of it, it's traditional to rename a ship when it goes under that kind of retrofit. So they named it the CSS Virginia. But ironically, apparently most people working the ship and there in the harbor still called it the Merrimack, which is where you get the Monitor versus Merrimack but the official name of the ship was the Virginia. So if any of you knew that, you get extra brain points. Next question. Ready? Which Confederate spy was known as the Siren of the Shenandoah? Was it Triangle Belle Boyd, Diamond Rose O'Neill Greenhow, Circle Mary Bosworth, or Square Georgia Howe? And I only myself knew who one of these was.
Well, 3 of them are indeed Confederate spies, one of which is a name I made up. I know.
Sometimes that's a favorite game we historians like to play. Never when we're educating, but when we're amongst ourselves talking about history, and we'll just say something outrageous. But then we check ourselves when we begin to talk to you, our adoring public, because we want to make sure that we get everything as correct as possible.
Yes.
We are coming up. We've got 37 answers, just a few more to go.
If you guess the name I made up, it will be wrong.
But if they know it's a made-up name, do they get extra brain points?
You can. They don't help you in the competition, but they do make you feel better.
They do make you feel better. A few more seconds. There we are at 40.
Okay, let's see what the answer is.
The answer is Belle Boyd, who is the one I knew. So which one did you make up?
Green, Georgia Howe.
Georgia Howe?
Yes.
And Howe. Man.
Nitrate is in the lead.
Yeah, Nitrate shot up to the top with Christine very close. History boy Josh sort of dropped off the leaderboards, but he can make it back up there pretty soon. So things change in these trivia games. You never know what's going to happen.
You don't.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit of information on those. And she was called the Siren of the Shenandoah, the Cleopatra of Secession, and La Belle Rebelle.
Lots of fun nicknames for Belle Boyd.
Because they came up with cool names in the 1860s. They were those newspapermen were very, very creative.
Oh yes.
All right.
Next question.
Here we go. And if you would just remind them that there is a delay, they're going to see the answers before the question because of the stream delay.
Okay.
If you could
Yeah, remember that you're going to see the answers before the questions.
Yeah, because of
The potential answers.
Yes.
Yes, the potential answers before the question. So that's the stream delay. That's the amazingness of the interwebs.
All right, next question. What was the name of Robert E. Lee's horse that he rode throughout most of the Civil War? Is it Triangle, Traveler, Diamond, Visitor, Circle, Hercules, or Square, Virginia? This was an incredibly popular horse.
All horses were popular in the Civil War
It's true.
because you could join the cavalry, as they said, and the theory was if you joined the cavalry, you wouldn't have to march anywhere like those poor infantry guys.
It's true. You just have to ride everywhere.
Yeah, but it's a trap. I don't know if you've interacted with very many of the cavalry reenactors or anything like that, Marie. But so if you're in the infantry, you march places, and when you get to where you're going, you take off your backpack and you sit on the ground and you're done. You're done. But if you're in the cavalry, when you get to where you're going, you have to get off your horse, and then you spend the next hour and a half taking care of the horse. And then you have to post pickets to make sure that your horse doesn't get tangled up in the ropes or wander off into the woods. So when you're actually riding with a cavalry, it's great because you're not having to use your legs to move. But when it comes time, it doesn't work too great.
Gotta take care of the horses. All right, so the answer is Traveler. It is spelled with 2 L's. That is spelled correctly. Correctly for the name of the horse, not perhaps for traveling.
Yeah, Nitrate stays at the top, and Christine and Pony Soldier, who I'm sure got this one right, is in third place.
All right, so Traveler with 2 L's weighed about 11,000
That's gotta
pounds.
be 1,100.
That's got to be 1,100.
Well, perhaps I put an extra 0 in there.
Slight modification. That's 1,100, folks.
Unless it's just that big of a horse. And stood about 16 hands high. He outlived Lee and was buried next to the Lee Chapel.
It's a beautiful horse. All right, next question. This book was incredibly popular with the Civil War soldiers, especially in the Confederate Army. Was it triangle, Les Miserables, diamond, Uncle Tom's Cabin, circle, The Life and Times of George Washington, or square, Daniel Boone, Frontier Hero? You notice some of these questions are a little tougher than other ones.
Yes. We did that on purpose.
I did that. I did do that on. Yes, we both did that on purpose. Just because we're going to educate you doesn't mean we can't trick you into having fun while you're doing it.
It's true.
So, some of you may be familiar with some of these books. Les Miserables is a French book. Uncle Tom's Cabin was written before the war and addressed the issue of slavery. And of course, George Washington was a great hero among the Confederates because he had led a successful revolution against a tyrannical government, which is exactly how many of the Confederate leaders felt that they were doing. And so when you look, even the Confederates' seal of state, what does it have on it? A picture of Washington, because they were hearkening back to that legitimate revolution against a tyrannical government. And everyone loves Daniel Boone.
He's a frontier hero.
He's a frontier hero.
According to this book.
Scott McClendon says the heaviest horse on record is 3,360 pounds.
Well, not anymore, Scott. That's still a big horse. That's a ton and a half. Almost. Only one more. You can do it. And there, as you say, Libba, just to remind everyone, there is a slight lag with things between Kahoot and what we're able to broadcast and what you're able to put in. So, but it's still fun and educational. Last second. The answer is Les Miserables. That's the trickiest question we've ever had. Nitrate stays at the top. Peachcott goes up. Louisa and Kay shows back up. And Nitrate has a streak with 8 correct answers in a row. Well done, Nitrate. Yeah, we'll learn a little bit more. And I'm glad that this one surprised some folks. Published in 1862, Victor Hugo's Les Miserables was quickly translated into English and printed in Richmond, Virginia. It became so popular in the Army of Northern Virginia under General Lee that the soldiers began referring to themselves as Lee's Miserables. And it's a really neat work. This is well before the musical. For those of you who may not be aware of that, even though the musical is great. But this was an incredibly popular book. Interesting side note: when it was published in Richmond, the capital of the Confederacy, the publisher did remove a lot of the text that seemed like it would not be too friendly to the Confederate cause, especially Hugo's rabid hatred of slavery was conveniently removed from the text that was distributed. So still a popular book.
Just an edited version.
An edited version. Next question.
So, the next question is, what was the first combat submarine to sink an enemy warship? Is it the Triangle, the CSS Hunley, Diamond, the USS Lusitania, Circle, the CSS George, or Square, the USS Jefferson?
So this is not going to give the answer away, of course, because this is from the American Revolution, but actually there was a submarine developed during the American Revolution. I'm sure you know about this. Do you know about this? The Turtle?
I think I have an image and that's coming to my mind of it, where it's just like a barrel.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea of being able to sneak somewhere underwater has been a long-standing dream of humanity, to be with the fishes as well as the birds in the air. But during the American Revolution, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he came up with a turtle, and it started off as a giant, like, wine or rum barrel that he sealed up and put a couple of little turning knobs that would turn a propeller and would make it go up and down, and there was a little thing that you could see out of. And his goal was to break the British blockade of the American colonies and perhaps sink a British ship and take out the important British Navy, but it never got around to actually sinking an enemy vessel, as opposed to the submarine in the American Civil War that did succeed in just such a feat. Got 39 answers, and someone may have dropped out. We didn't get to 40 last time.
Okay, so I think we're good here.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and go see what the answer is.
All right, it is the CSS Hunley.
What happened? No, nitrate stays at the top. Actually, the leaderboards didn't change at all with that one.
Yeah.
Well done, crew. And for more information,
The CSS Hunley was built in Alabama, and having sank and been raised twice during her training exercises, the Hunley attacked and sank the USS
Housatonic.
There we are, in February of 1864. The Hunley also sank during an attack and was lost until it was rediscovered in 1976. It was then raised back up not too long ago, and now resides in Charleston, South Carolina.
You can go see it.
You can.
And it's named for the inventor who died during one of those sinkings during trials. All right, next question. This is going great. Who is the first and only woman to be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for her service during the Civil War? Triangle, Clara Barton. Diamond, Harriet Tubman. Circle, Major Pauline Cushman. Or square, Dr. Mary Walker. Hint, it is one of these four women. I'm so helpful.
So helpful.
I'm so helpful.
So
with the
helpful.
information. So, and, the Medal of Honor was actually established during the American Civil War. Mm-hmm. And the first awarding of it, do you know this? When it was first awarded?
During the American Civil War?
Yes, but I mean, like, for what? This is,
It wasn't
you
the
know
railroad
about it.
chase, was it?
It was, yes.
It was
very
the railroad
good.
chase. Yay!
You get brain points.
Yay!
It was the great locomotive chase from Kennesaw on the way to Chattanooga when Confederates stole the railroad train locomotive, the General, and tried to break up railroad lines between Chattanooga and Atlanta, and were followed. And the Yankees, who followed them in the Texas, eventually overtook them and captured them, and they were awarded the Medal of Honor by Lincoln. That's the first awardings of the Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
So watch the Disney movie for the best documentary of that.
Which we will be talking about during our Old Hollywood Family Day.
Oh!
Because it was shot here in Northeast Georgia, up in the Blue Ridge Mountain region. And they really wanted a lot of Southern people to be like, they wanted true Southerners to play all the extras. So a lot of people from the town and from Atlanta were brought in as extras.
So the answer is Dr. Mary Walker, who was a doctor. Nitrate stays at the top. Grant Sherman, leaps ahead. But nitrate's going to be tough to beat, folks, but don't give up yet. Maybe he'll mess something up. So let's get some more information on Dr. Mary Walker. So she wanted to join the Union Army as a surgeon, but wasn't allowed because she was a woman. So she chose to volunteer for the Union Army and was captured in April 1864 by the South and held as a prisoner of war for about 4 months. So pretty groundbreaking on a couple of different levels. All right, next question.
So, who was the Union Army's first African-American physician? Was it Triangle, Frederick Douglass, Diamond, William A. Jackson, Circle, Alexander Augusta, or square, Henry York?
Dun, 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 dun. Now, first, it may be remarkable for people to realize that an African American could actually get a physician's degree and become a doctor at this time. It was not common, obviously, but it could be done. It was considered quite remarkable. And, you know, just as with the other physicians in the American Civil War, those African Americans who did serve in that capacity got a lot of really good experience and really good training and continued their practice after the war, especially out west where let's say the social structure and mores were not quite as unfriendly to African Americans as they would be closer to the East Coast in the more traditional setting. And of course, we've talked about Little House on the Prairie and the appearance of an African American doctor there who basically saved the Ingalls family from scarlet fever in the book Little House on the Prairie. So again, not unheard of, but incredibly rare, and these folks were certainly groundbreaking. But we're talking about the Union armies, the actual, you know, enlisted into the Army first surgeon, first physician for the U.S. military. We're almost there. People are really thinking about this one, or they're trying to Google it on Wikipedia, and you shouldn't do that. Shame on you.
Not fair.
Not fair.
Not fun.
Wild guesses are more honorable.
You have a 25% chance of getting it right.
All right, let's see what the answer is, of course.
All right, it is Alexander Augusta.
Let's see if
People
that
did
changed
pretty well
anything.
doing that.
Oh, Nitrate must have gotten that one right.
Oh, yes. Still in the lead. So Alexander Augusta was offered his services to the United States Army, and in 1863, he was commissioned as a major in the Army's first African-American physician. He became the first black hospital administrator in U.S. history while serving in the Army.
So not only a physician, but a hospital administrator.
Yes.
A position of leadership. Next question. Which general saved the Union Army from total destruction at the Battle of Chickamauga in September of 1863? Was it Triangle Sherman, Diamond McPherson, Circle Rosecrans, or Square Thomas? Saying the shapes, I always feel like we're adding things on to the Triangle Sherman, Square Thomas. Oh, people are not jumping in on this one. They may be having to think about it. This is one I think that we put in the hard category.
We did.
We put this
we have made it into the hard category.
Yes, now you're into the.
We tried to ease you in.
We threw in some that only an esoteric buff would really want to get into question. But the answers are coming. 21, 22, 28. Even Libba's having to Google it to find out who that is. That's cheating, Libba. And Chickamauga is one of those battles, again, in the Western theater, one of the largest battles in the Western theater that turned out didn't really change that much in the course of the war, even though it was a huge major battle. As there's an old saying in military history that a lot of generals know how to battle or know how to win a battle, but very few of them know how to use a victory. And Chickamauga is a great example of how neither one of the generals knew how to use the general who won was able to use the victory that he and his army had just achieved. There's a boring anecdote for you. Only a couple more people. They only have 18 seconds. Does anyone else hear the Jeopardy song playing in their head?
Do 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 do.
Oh yeah, a penny. That's a good idea. Oh, 38. One more. Are they going to guess? Or are they going to give up? The answer is Thomas. Oh my goodness, we got some other people with that one too. Most people voted for McPherson. Grant Sherman, I bet, got that one. And Nitrate soaring on there. They may have a consistent winning streak here. Yeah, so we can go get some more information on this. Again, this is one of those little details on the hard category. So George Thomas, known thereafter as the Rock of Chickamauga, established a last-ditch defense that held off Confederates long enough for the rest of the army to escape. The General Longstreet, who settled after the war here in Gainesville, had just come from the Army of Northern Virginia with reinforcements, and about 8,000 of his men attacked the Union line when 2 regiments had simply left the middle of the Union line and broke through and crushed the Union Army. And everyone started running except for Thomas and the troops he was able to gather, and he held out until nightfall and in effect saved the army and saved Chattanooga, and was arguably one of, if not the best commanders in the entire Western theater. So we can go to our next question.
True or false? The Confederacy created the first military draft in America. True or false? 50% chance of getting it right this time.
I'll bet 50% chance of getting it wrong. Sometimes those true and false are harder than the multiple choice. That's why I never put them on my test for my students, because I get chastised that they're not fair, that the question can be too tricky. It's one of those.
It's right or it's not.
Well, it's like the sky is blue. True or false? It sometimes isn't a choice though. That's it's one of those. It can be tricky. The sky's blue. A, true. B, false. C, mostly true. D, mostly false. E, sometimes true, sometimes. But folks are answering more quickly to these, I think. So I only have about four more answers before we can go to the answer. I can't remember who read this one. That was you, wasn't it? Or was it me?
I read this one.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I really am. See, you're dressed as a lady from the 1860s.
Yes.
I'm working on my impression of an absent-minded professor. I think I'm pulling it off pretty well. Nailed it. Thank you.
All right.
It is indeed true. Let's see. All right. Nitrate still holding strong, followed by Grant Sherman. So, true. Due to extreme manpower shortages, the Confederacy adopted the first conscription act in America. While it did put men into the army, it also took them away from important wartime duties like farming and factory work.
Yes. I think I'm pretty sure that the United States never enacted a conscription law until World War I.
Yes.
And if they did, it was on a state by state basis, not necessarily a federal basis.
All right.
Next question.
Another
true or false? Sherman burned Atlanta. True or false?
Or mostly true, or mostly false.
Is it a trick question? Does it seem so obvious that the answer might be what you think it is? Or are you having to second guess yourself and think that the answer could be so obvious, and I would know that you think it would be so obvious, so that you would have to pick the other one? This is why my students hate my true or false questions and do not allow me to do them anymore.
This is like the Princess Bride with the poisons.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
You just got to pick one.
Yes, that's a great. We'll have to post for our viewers a picture I actually have with Vizina during the Battle of Wits. It was fun. He came to DragonCon one year. I got a picture with him. It has nothing to do with the Civil War, but it's pretty neat. Oh, we're getting up there with the answers. 34. Oh, the last few are trying to decide about the trickiness. So you said people do like the true false or don't, Libba?
They do.
They do? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Seem to like it.
Okay. Maybe we'll put more of those out there then.
All right. I think that's.
All right. Is that it?
38 or 39. Let's give 3 more seconds.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. The answer is false. Ah. Let's. Yeah, the Great Fire that spread through Atlanta on the night of September 1st, 2nd, 1864 was originally set by Confederate soldiers. to destroy supplies they could not take with them. The fire soon got out of control and quickly destroyed a portion of the city. And there, actually, the really neat photograph that Liva found, a Barnard photo, by the way, was of the rail house near Atlanta where the ammunition train for the Confederate Army was, and they set fire to that train. It blew up and set a lot of buildings around it on fire. You'll notice there's not that many buildings standing around, just those brick columns.
And I believe this is our last question, so I think we're going to see who the winner is.
Oh, is this our last question? So let's see who the winner is. Dun, dun, dun. The winner is?
Okay, third place.
Third place, Louisa and Kay with 24 out of 28. Grant Sherman with 26 out of 28. And Nitrate with 28 out of 28. Well done, Nitrate. That's fantastic. So, Nitrate, you are our big winner. If you are not already a digital member, then congratulations, you are now a digital member. If you will get your information to us, and especially Libba in the chat or with a PM, we will get you set up for your digital membership. If you happen to already be a digital member, first, thank you. And second, we would like to work with you to maybe you could give this as a gift to a friend, or if you don't like us very much, a foe, and someone who could use some of the educational efforts of the Northeast Georgia History Center in their life.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. So if anybody wants suggestions on what our next trivia should be.
Yeah, so yeah, folks, we have a lot of fun doing these. We hope you have a lot of fun doing them. So in the chat, if you have some topic ideas or some themes you would like to see for trivia, go ahead and type them in there. We'll take a look and see what we can do. You'd be surprised sometimes how hard it is. The questions are easier to come up with the themes. I think we overthink the themes.
Perhaps.
Someone suggested the history of mathematics.
You're asking historians
To do math.
to do a history, but that's not a bad idea. We could
That's
we
actually
could
pretty
use the
good.
power of our mathematical friends to tell us what some of the things would be. I mean, it is the history of math, right?
I think we could do that.
We could probably
We
pull that
remember
off.
numbers. We don't manipulate them.
Yes, that's an excellent way to put it. That's an excellent way to put it. So, Marie, why don't you take us out? I'm going to take
All
one more
right.
sip from this delicious and wonderfully done History Center mug.
So thank you so much, everyone, for coming to our trivia today. We hope you learned something about Civil War history, or you were able to prove your knowledge of Civil War history and got a nice refresher there. We, again, thank you so much for your wonderful support. If you would like to buy a History Center mug, go do so now.
Oh, and we also have some Civil War campers in the audience.
Oh, and hello to all of our campers from the Young Historians Civil War Camp. We are so excited that you were able to come join us, and I hope you were able to use a lot of your knowledge that you got from camp and this game. I thought about that as I was making some of the questions. I was like, we talked about this in Civil War Camp. So thank you so much. So glad to have y'all all with us, and until next time, bye y'all.
Bye.